Hi, welcome to I'll Eat Your History. This is the very first episode, and today we are tackling making medieval cheese. So I'm going to be watching and reacting to Tasting History's very first episode, Medieval Cheese, and I'll let you know what I think. I haven't watched it before. I've watched some of his other videos, which is what kind of gave me this wild idea, and I'm going to let you know what I think of the video. And then after that, I'm going to try cooking or making or preparing the wild dish that he recommends and cooks up. So we'll see how this goes. If you want to go right on to the cooking part, just skip on forward. I've never done a reaction video before, so we're going to see what happens. So give me one moment and we're going to cook this up. Okay, here we go. I cannot tell you how excited I am. I've been looking forward to this. And so we'll see how this goes. All right, Max, let's kick it off.
Hi everyone, welcome to Tasting History. I'm Max Miller. Have you ever heard the saying that the moon is made of green cheese? I've always found
I have heard that the moon is made of cheese, but not that it's made of green cheese. Of note. Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't recognize that image.
it baffling. Not because the claim that the moon is actually made of cheese, but that it's green. Because
Thank you, exactly. What?
if you go outside, I've seen a yellow moon.
Yes.
I've seen a white moon.
Yes.
Never green.
Nope, same.
Well, it turns out that in the Middle Ages, green cheese had nothing to do with the color of the cheese. It had to do with the age of the cheese.
Okay.
It was fresh cheese.
Okay.
New cheese.
And
And
new
today
cheese.
I'm going to show you how to make your own dazzling white green cheese.
Let's get it. Some dazzling white green cheese.
Now there are all sorts of ways to classify cheese.
I also had to just say, I think it's always so fun to go back to the very first video, like this one, I'm sure, maybe for some of you, because it's so amazing to see how far people have come. Like by now, he's realized not to shoot in front of the blinds. But you know what you make do? Like, you make do with what you got. So, okay, let's keep on going.
You've got your hard versus soft, your aged versus non-aged, your stinky versus non-stinky, and
I do like some stinky cheese.
then you've got cheeses made with rennet and cheeses made without rennet. Rennet is an enzyme inside of the stomach of some animals, and it helps to turn milk into cheese. Rennet tends to give the cheese a stronger flavor, whereas cheeses without rennet tend to have a softer, milder flavor.
Okay, so if you are eating cheese that has a strong flavor, you can think of the animal's stomach is giving you that little treat. That's what we just learned there. Okay.
Including quark and ricotta, and what we're making
Quark.
today, which is a type of farmer's cheese.
Okay.
Now for this recipe,
I'm up for it. Now I will tell you also, I already bought all of the ingredients, not knowing what was going to be made. So, I mean, knowing it was going to be cheese, not knowing exactly what the cheese is going to be like. So this is my first view on what we'll be cooking up.
all you'll need is 1 gallon of whole milk,
Check.
not ultra pasteurized, 2 teaspoons of salt,
Check.
a third of a cup of lemon juice,
Check.
about 2 lemons, and a fourth of a cup of white wine vinegar, maybe a little bit more as we go on.
Got it.
You'll also need a colander, cheesecloth, and either a Dutch oven or a heavy metal stock pot.
I don't have a Dutch oven, but I do have a heavy metal stock pot. So we'll see how that works. I do have some cheesecloth. It's a little old, but we're going to make it work.
First, line the colander with 3 or 4 layers of cheesecloth and put that
Okay, of note, my cheesecloth does not look like that. My cheesecloth is a lot more meshy. So we're going to see what happens.
in the sink. Then add the lemon juice and the vinegar and set that aside.
Okay, we're going to do it.
Pour the gallon of milk into the pot and add in the salt.
Okay.
Then heat on medium-high heat, stirring frequently with a rubber spatula to prevent scorching
Okay. Okay, I can do that. I can stir
until the
things.
milk registers
I
185
have a thermometer.
degrees. As soon as it gets to 185, remove the pot from the heat and stir in the vinegar and lemon juice.
Although of note, my thermometer is not a fancy new digital thermometer. It's an old school, like little dial one. So we're gonna see how this goes. But then in the Middle Ages, they didn't have thermometers, so it's gotta be okay, right? I'm going to be okay with it. It's going to be fine. They probably did it by sight or smell or something. Smell those animal stomachs, I guess.
Then leave it alone. Don't touch it for about 10 minutes.
I'm going to leave it alone.
At this point, the curds should start to separate from the whey.
It looks a little bit like vomit, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
The liquid should be fairly clear. If it's not, if it's still the color of milk, then add in another.
Let's also take a little moment and appreciate the fact that he has a monogram spatula with an M for Max. How adorable is that?
Tablespoon of vinegar, give it a very small stir, and let it sit for another 2 to 3 minutes. At this point, you're ready to separate the curds from the whey by pouring everything into the colander. Then leave it again for 8 to 10 minutes. Now, while we wait for the whey to drain away, let's take a look at some great moments in cheese history.
Oh, you punny little guy.
Sorry, that was awful.
Yes, it was.
I should edit that out. I'm not going to.
Don't do it.
But I should.
It's precious. Dun dun dun! It's time for history.
Cheese was first discovered around 8000 BC, right when we were domesticating the sheep.
Okay.
Well, not we, people. And in
He wasn't there.
2018, a jar found in the tomb of Thaumes, mayor of the ancient city of Memphis, was found to hold ancient cheese.
Dun dun dun!
Now, of course, the cheese was several thousand years old, and so it's rock hard and really gross. And scientists have actually found that the original cheese had a bunch of bacteria in it that causes what's now known as Mediterranean fever. So.
Oh. So not great. No.
But, just like Mediterranean fever, the love of cheese was about to spread across the region. Also, just terrible. In Greece, they made feta.
Yes,
Homer
they did.
actually dedicated numerous lines in the Odyssey to describe the Cyclops' penchant for making feta cheese.
His penchant for making feta cheese.
Out of his sheep's milk. He even had an entire room in his cave dedicated to making cheese. In the larger houses of ancient Rome, they too had dedicated rooms specially for making and preserving cheese. But like feta, the cheeses of the Mediterranean at that time were very salty. It was the only
somebody's salty.
way to preserve them for long periods of time in the warm Mediterranean climate.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
It wasn't until cheese moved north that you start to see most of the cheeses that we know today.
Okay.
Now, monks didn't necessarily invent.
That monk is holding that cheese like you're about to rip it from his hands. Like Vikings are coming and they're coming for his cheese. And he's like, no, sir, this is my cheese.
And all of these types of cheeses.
Or it's like he has no love in his life except for cheese. That this is his precious cheese. Well, cheese is pretty delicious, so okay.
They did tend to perfect them. They had a lot of time on their hands, and they had to go.
Okay, hang on a minute. Let's go back a second. If I can do this. Look at that expression. Okay? What is going on there? Is that cheese, or is he like getting into the communion wine and hoping that nobody finds out? That's what that look is like. Look at the little rosy cheek. 100%. He's getting his wine to go with the feta cheese he just ate. His salty cheese.
Had a lot of time on their hands, and they had to go most of the year without being able to eat meat. So they wanted various cheeses to add some variety to their diet.
Don't we all?
They found that lowering the salt allowed new bacteria to grow in the cheese-making process, giving rise to tons of different flavors that had never been tasted before. Brie, Camembert, Cheddar, Gorgonzola, Grana, Gruyere, and Roquefort were all popular cheeses on monastic tables throughout medieval Europe. Now, of course, most of these cheeses took a lot of time and a lot of money to make. And most people were poor, so instead they made their own fresh cheeses in their cottage. Get where I'm going with this?
I get where you're going with this.
The cheese that we're making today is an early form of
cottage cheese! Yes!
Cottage cheese had pretty much lost its popularity by the early 20th century, partly because it was associated with poverty, and partly because of the rise of
I love cottage cheese, and it's high in protein. So don't be knocking my cottage cheese.
Processed cheese. But when World War II hit, that all changed. The processed cheese, now called American cheese, along with dried compressed cheese, the precursor to today's Cheetos, were all shipped across the pond to feed our boys fighting the Nazis. Now, on top of that, meat was heavily rationed in World War II.
Okay.
So where was the home front to get the protein to keep those rosies riveting?
Yes.
Enter cottage cheese.
You need some good
The
protein
Department
in
of
your cottage
Agriculture
cheese.
sent out millions of postcards with recipes for cottage cheese and different ways to use it. This is probably when Richard Nixon developed his infamous love of cottage cheese.
I like how he says that, like we all know about Nixon's infamous love with cottage cheese. This is news to me. I did not know Nixon had a fetish for cottage cheese. Looking at Max's expression right now, I feel like we're going to find out why he used the word infamous. Let's find out.
Sometimes for breakfast, he was known to eat cottage cheese with ketchup.
Okay.
And for the last meal before his resignation, he ordered cottage cheese with pineapple slices and a glass of milk. That's a real picture of the actual meal.
Okay, there's nothing matter with cottage cheese and pineapple. There is something the matter with cottage cheese and ketchup. If any of you try cottage cheese with ketchup and like it, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm not going to do that. But okay, Nixon liked it, so it's good for somebody. Okay, let's keep going.
Now don't worry, I'm not going to be putting ketchup or pineapple on my fresh cheese.
Thank you.
Instead, I'm going to actually make a sambo cod, a medieval cheesecake with it, on our next episode.
And I'm going to do that too. That's going to be queued up because I saw that when I looked at the ingredients. So look for that episode. I'll link it at the end to find out what I got up. Although we keep on saying sambuca, which I think is actually liquor. I know it's liquor if I'm saying it correctly, but so I'm sure I'm going to screw this up, but that's fine. That's fine.
But for now, let's go check and see that it's done draining. Once most of the whey has gone through the colander, transfer the cheese to a large bowl and stir to break up the curds and work in the rest of the whey. Now I need to leave the cheese in the fridge to chill for 2 hours before using it. It can stay up to 2 days, but the fresher, the better.
Noted.
Tomorrow I'm going to use it to make a sambo cod, the medieval cheesecake I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
If you want to check that out, make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, leave me a comment down below if you end up making your own fresh cheese, and I will see you next time on Tasting History.
And look how cleverly he's linked to ketchup. A ketchup video after this one. So of note, I'm going to link this video down below because I want you to support Max. Go to his channel, like it, subscribe, right? He's a fantastic, lovely guy. I'm going to some of his old videos, so you should go and find out what he's cooking up currently now that he's like 4 years into this. He started this during the pandemic, which was great timing for him from all my little snooping around that I did before I got started. So yeah, I'm going to link, and also in this video of his will be the full recipe. I'm not going to include that because I want you to go to his channel and support Max and all the lovely work that he's doing. So thank you, Max. Thanks for doing what you're doing. Yeah. Okay, so next up is going to be me making the cheese. The cottage cheese that isn't actually cottage cheese, I think. So we're going to see how that works out. I'm actually going to save the whey as well because in a sneak peek on the sambu cod medieval cheesecake, it calls for dried breadcrumbs. I also hate like letting things go to waste that you can use. So I'm going to take the whey to use it to make bread that I will then use to make the medieval cheesecake. I may or may not videotape the bread making because it's not like a history. This is all about eating food from history and letting you know what I think about it. And if I can make it, because I'm not a professional cook, I do okay, but I'm nothing fancy or special, just a regular lady watching YouTube, watching too much Great British Bake Off, and wanting to do a little cooking in my kitchen and turned on the camera to watch. Okay, so let's see what happens next. So this is the fun part where I make cheese. Now, I will admit, I have made cheese in the past. Granted, it was like 20 years ago. So it's like I'm doing this for the first time. It's been a while, but I do have a little bit of knowledge, but again, 20 years ago. Okay, I've got all my ingredients gathered as per Max's instruction. Although of note, he said 2 lemons, and it actually took me 2.5 to get to a 1/3 cup. 2 lemons only gave me 1/4. So check the size of your lemons. I must have had just little itty bitty lemons that just weren't as robust as Mr. Max's lemons. So yeah, keep that in mind when you are cooking this up. If you're deciding to try this yourself, that would be meta. If you did a reaction video to my reaction video, I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so the first step is to take the cheesecloth. Now, I will confess, this cheesecloth is from the time that I made cheese before. Like I said, 20 years ago. Now, I haven't used it. It's unused and it was in a package, so it's okay, but it is a little sus. So then I took it and I tried to fold it up because it said to make 3 to 4 layers. It didn't, it's a little bit of a hot mess, but I'm thinking it's going to work because I mean, in the Middle Ages, people were hot messes. So I can be a hot mess too, right? Okay, so I'm supposed to line the colander with my 3 to 4 layers of cheesecloth. Now he said to do this in the sink. I'm not doing it in the sink because, like I said, I want to catch the whey to be able to make bread from it. And by the way, I learned some things when I was like, what do I do with this leftover whey? I don't want to waste the whey. I found out there are different types of whey. So there's acidic whey and there's sweet whey. So acidic, of course, because we're using lemon juice and vinegar, so it's acidic. And then it can be salty or not. Now, it has salt in it. We're adding salt. So I'm like, okay, well, this must be salty whey. Now, if you have salty acidic whey, there's less things that you can do with it than you can with sweet whey. I am not a whey expert, but I'm learning. I'm sharing my knowledge with you. Here you go. I learned and said, oh, okay, I can make bread with this. And when I looked at the recipe, it called for breadcrumbs. So I'm like, okay, 2 birds, 1 stone. We're going to do this. Okay, so we've got the colander lined. We're going to find out what's next. So the next step is to combine the vinegar and the lemon juice. So I'm going to do that. And by the way, it's really hilarious. This vinegar makes me think of Easter. I think of Easter. It makes me think of making Easter eggs. So that's where I'm at. It's Easter right now. It isn't really, not when I'm filming this, but in my world, it's like Easter. Okay, so the next step is to heat the milk over the stove. Okay, so I got milk. I got whole milk. He says not ultra pasteurized. It isn't ultra pasteurized. It's pasteurized. I hope that's okay. I don't think you can buy non-pasteurized milk legally in the United States. Okay, it's a whole gallon. A whole gallon. It's a whole gallon of milk. This is like wild to me. I can't even. Look at those bubbles. This is hilarious. This is hilarious to me. Okay, there we go. And then we've got our empty milk jug, and then we got our salt. Use some sea salt, so we'll just pour that in there. I've got the stove going, so I'm going to plop this on over there. Okay, so I have the pot on the stove, and I even have this old-fashioned spoon that I'm going to. This feels medieval. I found my thermometer, and it luckily went from the edge of the pot into the milk. So that's good. I was a little worried it wasn't going to be long enough, but it sure is. Oops. I almost did it on medium heat. It's medium high heat. And so I'm supposed to stir so it doesn't scorch. And yeah, until that little dial gets to be 185. So let's just stir away. I'm going to stir and we'll be back. Okay, so I've been stirring this for about 28 minutes now. So this is not a quick process, but we're getting there. We're almost there. No, not so bright. I put it on the smaller burner instead of the larger burner. So I think that probably could have made things a little bit quicker if I had more heat underneath it. But regardless, we're getting there. I'm getting my little stirring workout. I'm stirring, I'm stirring, I'm stirring. It's happening. Oh my goodness, is it finally happening? Is it finally happening? Am I about to be able to stop stirring? I'm ready for this. And of course, I'm having a hot flash. So I will note as we're getting closer, it's getting frothy at the top. Or maybe I'm hallucinating it. I don't know. I've been stirring so long. I might be hallucinating it. I have to have my glasses on to read that little tiny thermometer. Okay, I think we are ready. All right. You can see the steam. Remove this. Okay. The next step is to slowly pour in the lemon juice and the vinegar until it starts to curdle. So let's do that. Should take about 15 seconds, it said. This is where the magic is gonna happen. Okay, it's in there. Let's see. Things are happening. It's looking disgusting. This looks like vomit. So that's fine. It's totally fine. It looks disgusting, but it's separating. We're getting our curds, we're getting our whey. Okay, until milk begins to curdle. Okay, I think mission accomplished. I think this qualifies as beginning to curdle. So on this note, now we leave it for 10 minutes undisturbed, which I'm really excited about because I've been stirring for almost a half an hour. Really looking forward to not stirring anymore. Okay, so we're back. It's been 10 minutes. Max says that if the whey and the curds don't fully separate, you add more vinegar and you wait an additional 3 minutes. Here's a fun fact. I don't know if this is fully separated or not. I don't really want to wait 3 more minutes, so I'm going to cross my fingers. I mean, it looks to me like it's separated, but this is what it looked like when I first poured in the lemon juice and vinegar, so I don't know about the 10-minute wait. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so here comes the fun part. We're going to pour our little concoction into this concoction, this cheesecloth concoction, and then it's going to strain. Now, again, I'm not pouring it down the sink as he advises. I'm putting it into a bowl. I don't know what's going to happen, so we're going to find out. Okay, here we go. Okay, some stuff is separating. That's good. It looks like some of it's going through one of the layers of the muslin or the cheesecloth. Oh, but look at that stuff. That's definitely cheese. It definitely looks like cottage cheese. It's that way. Little Miss Muffet, eat your heart out? Ugh. Which does make me wonder. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. This is what she was eating? Seems a little weird to me. Okay, so we got this in here. So unfortunately, it does not clear the amount of liquid in the bowl, which is what I was worried about because we want it to drain. And if it's sitting in the way, it's in the way. If it's sitting in the way, I'm really tripping over this because it's double words. If it's sitting in the way, it's not going to drain. So I'm going to let the rest of the whey go down the sink. Just, whatever's left of in this little mushy mush here. So I think that's fine. I certainly have enough to make bread and probably more. I'm probably going to have to throw some of this out anyway. All right. So now we're going to let it sit and drain for about 8 to 10 minutes and then we'll be back. Okay. The whey has finished draining. I do totally understand. It's very tempting to do puns. The whey has drained away. So Max, I'm not going to hold it against you. You and your cheese grater. It's fine. Okay, so now we are going to transfer this into the bowl. I don't know what to expect here, so we're going to find out. I feel like my cheesecloth story was a little too chaotic, and I don't know what all is going to end up in this bowl here, but we're here for it. We're going to find out. He says gently. We always want to be gently with this cheese. Okay. It is very cottage cheese-ish, isn't it? Ooh. Except not, because it doesn't have the liquid that cottage cheese does. Let's see if I just want to plop. Ah! I just kind of plopped it in. But it worked. Not totally cottage cheesy, but pretty much. Some got stuck in my cheesecloth. I'm gonna put that over there and see if I can't. Is this just a lost cause? Is there a hole in there? There was a hole in there? This is what happens when you use 10-year-old cheesecloth, apparently. So some of my cheese snuck in a little pocket. This looks kind of disgusting. This is kind of disgusting. I'm not gonna lie about it. You know what? We're gonna get a little bit out, and we're just gonna let the rest of that go. We're just gonna say goodbye to that little tiny bit of cheese. It's totally fine. I know I'm supposed to wait 2 hours in the fridge before this can be used. Oh, he said to stir in any leftover whey. You know what? I think we did good with the whey. There isn't any way to look at me. It's like I'm stabbing it. It doesn't really look like there's any way to be stirred in. I think we're good. I think we're good with this cheese. It's interesting consistency, I will say that. And it smells kind of yeasty, which is interesting, like bread. Yeah, so I don't know. This is fascinating. Okay, so we're gonna see how this turns out. Okay, so I tried a little bit of it before it went in the fridge. What does it taste like? It's kind of chewy. It's good, actually. It doesn't taste bad. Now, the thing I like about this is the recipe is actually very simple. Think about it. The things that are in it are things that are very easy to buy. You don't have to go into any specialty grocery store. These might be even things you have around your house. It's kind of like cottage cheese, but it isn't. It's very familiar. It has a little bit of a lemony zing to it because of the lemon. I don't know. I guess it tastes like some kind of cheese. I can't identify it, but it's not very bold of a flavor. It's very mild, slightly cottage cheese-esque, but less liquidy and less slimy. I guess it's chewy and not slimy. Yeah, so I'm really curious to see how this goes into the sambucad. The sambucad? The sambuca. The sambucad cheesecake that we'll be making next. So if you want to see what ends up happening with this stuff next, then you'll just have to check out the medieval cheesecake episode, which I will be filming next. And so, yeah, go ahead. I'm kind of curious if you end up making this cheese, what you think this tastes like. And if you like it or not. This is a lot of cheese. I'm hoping we're using a lot of this in the recipe, because if it only lasts like 5 days, that's a lot of cheese for me to eat. I might be knocking on my neighbor's door. All right. Well, from I'll Eat Your History, this is Jillian. It's been a delight and a pleasure. Thanks for watching the first episode. Very excited to see what we cook up next, and maybe a little scared. That's all right. I'll see you there. Thanks. Oh, but don't forget to like and subscribe to get tuned into what happens next. What happens next? Okay, on that note, I really mean it. Goodbye.